and welcome once again to Dobro Basics. I'm Justin Gamrell, and we are continuing working through what we need to be playing the Dobro. Today, we are going to be talking about the steel, the big hunk of metal bar that we use to be able to play the strings. Now, a steel is very important to playing the Dobro because all you have to do is look to see how high the strings are off the fretboard. I cannot get any of the strings to get all the way down onto the frets to actually play the frets like you would a normal guitar, where you get the frets to change the pitch. And so because it's so high, we use a steel to act as the frets, because just like how you have the tension of the metal fret, you can have just the tension of the steel going down. Where I would play like just open and then could play up. And you just have to push down. It really doesn't require that much pressure, but you do have to give just enough to get a good sound out of it. So for that reason, even as we look at our Dobro as a nice fretboard on it, the frets are almost not necessary. It's not necessary to actually have real frets. Sometimes they're just lines drawn onto it because you don't actually use them. They're just guide markers as opposed to being physical, ways to change the notes. So now we have our steel. So the first step is to learn how to hold it. So we will use our thumb, our index, and our middle fingers on our left hand. I'm going to focus on mostly for people who play right-handed. I'm sure somebody switches it if they're left-handed, but we're going to focus on the way how at least I play it, which is it's in your left hand. You're going to use your thumb on the right side of it, the side most inward. The index will sit on top, and then your middle finger will sit behind. Now, different bars come in different shapes and sizes. Mine tends to be a little longer because I like just how much extra room it gives me for covering all the strings. Some are a little shorter, and there are good reasons for that, so that it's not quite getting in the way as much and you can be a little more pointed with it. In general, you are going to want your middle finger especially, but the index finger might as well, to be coming out a little bit farther from the steel, so that it's not just the steel doesn't come out farther, but your fingers do. Through this, using all three of your fingers, you will have nice control to be able to move it all around, move it, bring it up and down, because it should be able to just rest nicely. If you have a chance, I would totally recommend that if you have the opportunity to try a couple different steels, not maybe go out and buy different ones, but if you know different people that you could ask to try theirs real quick, or if you're at a festival or music store that they have a couple different ones that you can try, I would say try some different ones, see what you like and what you don't like. It should feel right in your hands and be able to move nicely as you go. There's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all, and I know good friends who play Dobro who use different steels, and that's all fine. But this is generally how you're going to want it held. And there are reasons for all of it. First, as I said, is control. The second begins to how we get on to actually going towards the Dobro. So as always, you're going to want to stick the steel down and you're going to put it in line with the fret. I'm right now on my 7th fret, which is a D chord. To play the chord, you'll look to see where you can just barely see the fret underneath, and you can strum. You're going to want your bar to be, even with the strings, perpendicular, not on any weird slants. Basically, you can do slants, but we generally want to stick to our chords to keep that even. Your thumb needs to make sure that it's not touching any of the strings, because if your thumb goes down, it's going to mute some of those rather than playing this full of the chord. Your index finger is going to sit on top to put just a little bit of pressure. Remember, it's a hunk of metal, so it's got weight to it already, but a little bit extra just adds to that. The middle finger can be up or can rest down ever so slightly on the strings behind it. And then your ring and your pinky finger, as they're available, should be anchored on top of the strings as well. By holding it this way, we properly mute everything. And that's essential because if I especially move to the 12th fret, if I don't put the fingers down in the back, you get some overtones from what's back here. But if I anchor, and I don't know how well that's going to come across through the microphone, but it's important to be able to mute what's behind it. And that's how we'll play our full chords. As we completely move around, you're going to be consistently holding this position. It might feel different, when I say anchoring these back two fingers, that's going to change depending on where it is, because just my wrist, arm, the higher I go versus the lower I go, it's in a different position. But we want every string to have a finger on it behind the steel so that we're muting. And that's generally how we're going to play your more full chords. If I wanted to run around a scale, that's not really going to work. Because if I put the full steel down the whole time while I go up and down my scales, there's tons of extra noise. Because even the steel just coming up and down off the strings makes sound. So what we need to do is learn how to play individual notes and to mute the ones around it. So if I want to play just one note, we're going to right now play on the G string, that's the 3rd string, and on the 2nd fret. And if I want to play that, I'm going to tilt my steel up a little bit so that it comes in at an angle and then is only touching that string. And then we can play it. Now in this case, I still have my ring and my pinky finger muting the strings at least below it. And if I pick it up, those fingers are coming off. But now, as I had said before, it's important for that middle finger to be coming out in front. Because as I put this down, I have that muting the next string over. So even if I accidentally hit it, it's muted and you're not going to get it. This also works for when I'm going down the scale, that if I go, that doesn't sound good. Because if I go from that 2nd string to the 3rd, but there it sounded better because I had my middle finger to mute the string. We want to be using our left hand not just to be holding the steel, but also so that we can use it to mute the necessary other strings. Because if there's no muting and I go up and down my scales, it becomes this cacophony of sound that goes all over the place. All the strings just start to blend together. And that can sound nice from time to time. And if you want to do that, go for it. But we generally want that clean sound in most instances. And that means that we need to be using our left hand to properly mute around, because it turns what sounded originally like this into and I still let some of it go at the end, but it sounds much cleaner. You can hear each note more precise. And that comes from just being able to hold your steel correctly and properly muting everything that you're not playing. And that is not easy. That takes time and effort to learn how to, mount your other fingers and to properly put them there. So I'm going to teach just a quick and simple little exercise that can work on just using your steel. So we're going to start on the 6th string, the low string, and each time I'm going to give fret numbers, but each time I say 0 or open, that means we're going to move up to the next string. So we're going to start on low G and hit G, and then 2nd fret. And sometimes on this low string, rather than angling from this kind of downward from myself, I might go upward, just so that I'm out of the way of the other strings. It can kind of come down off the neck. But 0, so it goes on that low string, 0, 2, next string 0, 1, next string 0, 2, up another string 0, 2, up to open, 1, open again on the high string, and then 2. So generally it's between the 0 and 2, except that on the B strings, you're going to go with the 1st fret. And so going a little faster, it sounds like this. And then you can do it in reverse to go down. And that kind of just gives you an opportunity to sit there and just work on making that sound cleaner. Go start real slow and then move it faster so that you're getting it under your fingers. It's going to take time to learn how to hold the steel. It's something that you don't have to do in any other circumstance but playing the dobro. And so by going up and down like that, we begin to get a better sense of how to mute, how to make it sound clean, because it goes from which is still cool to be able to do, but then moves it into, and I was starting to use some hammer-ons and pull-offs there because I've used the exercise in some slightly different places, and I'll modify it in those places as necessary too. But we begin to learn how to just basically use the steel. Use it to go up and down chords, and that'll come by just playing songs along. So use this opportunity in the absolute basics to just learn how to hold everything. As I've said in other videos, it might seem a little silly to just be working on this. It might sound boring, but sometimes needing to know these basic building blocks is what helps us be able to do better long term. And learning how to do this correctly will help you to not pick up bad habits down the line that will become even harder to get over and fix if once you reach the highest level you can go with bad habits. And so to start now and to start well now will just be able to help put you on the right track later on to be playing dobro so much better. So make sure that you keep practicing, keep on growing, go out, play with other people, and have a wonderful time playing dobro. Thanks for listening.